from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, and back stateside after his journey to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Jeff McLane joins us. Jeffrey, good morning. Welcome back to the U.S. of A. How was the experience in Brazil? Because it was obviously talked about a lot leading up to the actual game.
My experience with the Eagles experiences, I guess the Eagles was pretty good. They won, right?
Right.
What about yours?
There was a lot of the conversations about how they had the list of things of do's and don't, what not to do, and did that even come up once the game started playing?
From what I understand, no, I don't. Again, I wasn't with the Eagles. I wasn't staying with them. We were pretty far from where they were staying, so I'm not entirely sure about all that, or at least I haven't heard as of yet. But it seems like everything went along swimmingly, and they were able to get in and out and with the victory.
When you look at how the Eagles played, do you consider that a surprise of what you saw, things that you were surprised by, or things that you pretty much expected?
Well, I think in terms of the offense, I expected it to be dynamic and all the pre-snap motion that we've talked about. That's a very instrumental part of Kellen Moore's offense. The most that the Eagles have run motion since 2020, so before Nick Sirianni arrived. And when they used it, Jalen Hurts was very productive. When they didn't, he wasn't as productive. So, hey, let's do that. Continue doing that. But I think we know what's on the offensive side from Saquon Barkley. And, look, I've watched Saquon since he was a freshman at Penn State, so I know what he's capable of. I know there's probably in New York, certainly they didn't think he was worth the contract that he ended up getting, and maybe there were reasons to think, based upon the numbers, that he wasn't as good as he was earlier in his career after the injuries. But, I mean, the guy I saw out there is Saquon, or pretty close to it, the Saquon you saw coming out of the draft. I mean, there were certainly holes that the offensive line opened up for him, but, he was able to get yards after contact, or even, before that with the dynamic moves. I mean, that catch he made on the wheel route, there aren't many running backs in the league, if any, that can make that catch. So I guess that was maybe not a surprise, but something I think a lot of people had questions about. And the defensive side of the ball, definitely a lot more questions because there's a lot of new players. There are more new players. There's six new starters on that side of the ball. I expected Quinyon Mitchell to go out there and play well, just based on everything I've seen in camp. And I thought he did. Were there some struggles? Yeah, that's going to happen for a rookie when you're just throwing him out there for the first time. But he's the real deal. Zach Bond, again, he's been playing well in camp. Now, you never know if that's going to transfer onto the field when the games start to matter. But he was around the ball a lot, so you feel like maybe as a weak side linebacker, that's someone you can trust. And he's going to play. It looks like he'll play all the downs over Nakobe Dean. So that makes sense. And then, I don't know what else I could say I was surprised by, but I'm not surprised they won, certainly.
What'd you make of Jalen's performance?
Yeah, he didn't play well. There were moments that he had some good passes. Obviously, the wheel route passes was a nice one. Getting the ball to AJ, he was pretty wide open, but he got the ball to him. There are a couple other big throws that he made, certainly in that 4-minute drive, and some great runs that he had. Obviously dragging those two defenders for the first down. I mean, there aren't many guys in the world that could do something like that. So, Jalen, when it mattered, came up with some big plays. Although there were plays that you could say it mattered, and he was equally as bad. But that being said, one game, right? First time in a new offense in a live game. If he comes out next week and protects the ball better. Doesn't try and play hero ball and throw the ball across his body into the end zone when, more play there is to throw it away and take the 3 points and 8-point lead. Then it'll just be maybe a blip.
When you brought up the hero ball thing, because that was brought up in various reporting that there were people that maybe thought that Jalen tried to do too much at times. I wonder if that had anything to do with the new offense, though. I mean, the mistakes that he made, do you attribute it to getting comfortable in Kellen Moore's offense, or do you attribute it to him trying to do too much?
No, it's absolutely him trying to do too much. I mean, the offense is just laid out there for him. He's got the best collection of skill players in the league. He's got one of the best offensive lines in the league. I mean, that line was great in that game. Just go out there and execute.
So
but even despite all of his mistakes, they still scored 34 points.
Jeff
They won in spite of Jalen.
Yeah.
Jeff, to that point, we've been getting into a conversation of the list of quarterbacks that can win a Super Bowl, and we won't go through the entire list with you, but I want to ask this question: how great does Jalen Hurts actually have to be in order for this team to do damage and win Super Bowl? Does he have to play elite football like Patrick Mahomes, or can he just go out there and be a game manager? And I say that respectfully, not make mistakes, and then still win a lot of football games, knowing with the talent that you have around him.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I don't think it's that black and white. I mean, you're going to need your quarterback to go make plays and to have to be accurate and to, I mean, like, you need all of that. So it's not, oh, he's a game manager, he's just a robot, and he's just like, they push the button and Jalen, executes it. No, I mean, you still need him to go out there and be a good quarterback, which he is. I don't get into all this elite stuff and the rankings and who's Super Bowl. To me, that's all stupid.
Right.
We've got that covered, Jeff.
Yeah, we got you taken
We got
care
all
of.
that stuff covered. You don't have to.
Well, I'm
do
not saying you guys are, but I'm saying.
Oh no, we are. We are.
It's just whether he can. Look, 2 years ago, he came pretty damn close to winning a Super Bowl. I mean, right, and a completely different offense. So that to me, I just don't pay much attention to that. And the comparisons to Patrick Mahomes, I don't think you can compare anybody to Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So that's just ludicrous too. Jalen is a quarterback who's shown that he can win at a high level. He got very close 2 years ago. He didn't play well last year. He just needs to be someone probably in between those two polar extremes, if you're calling them extremes. Those two levels of play for the Eagles to go ahead. Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of talent. As I said, he has a lot of talent around him. He doesn't have to go out there and be Superman all the time. And in past, maybe he would have had to do that, whatever team he might have been playing for, because he does have these amazing physical attributes, and he does have a high intellect, and he does have all the things that you want out of a quarterback. He doesn't have to, with this offense, in my mind, he doesn't have to carry them on his shoulder like he may have had, or may he believe sometimes that he has to do, or he has to show to prove that he's worth this contract, et cetera. And I think that was part of the issues of last year. And that was why I wrote my column being like, the new Jalen looks a lot like the old Jalen. But that being said, I thought that there were some positives. He was better against the blitz. And you can see in Kellen Moore's offense with the pre-snap stuff, like it helps him see whether the defense is a man in zone. I mean, it's simple. That's why you do a lot of the pre-snap motion. It can, the little window dressing, eye candy motion that Kellen throw in there will free Saquon Barkley up a little bit on a wheel route. That stuff will help your quarterback out.
It's when we look ahead to what they're facing in the next 3 weeks, is there anything that you think the challenge of Kirk Cousins is going to potentially be more of a real challenge versus the secondary? Because he has had great success when he comes facing the Eagles or in Philly or otherwise, throwing the ball against them.
Kirk, well, I mean, I kind of wrote my kind of season prediction review that it seems like Kirk Cousins against the Eagles at the Link seems a mandatory thing in week 2 because it's now been three years in a row. He had one of his worst games ever 2 years ago. I remember he threw 4 interceptions. Kirk Cousins, that is.
Sure.
So last year he was a little better.
Last year was one score in the fourth quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year was a closer game. And then obviously with the Redskins, Kurt had some good games. Although, geez, I mean, I remember one time he threw one of the dumbest passes I ever saw right before the half for Washington. Yeah, I mean, that Atlanta team didn't. I watched some of it against who did the Steelers.
Sure.
I think there was a lot of talk that this team would be improved. I don't necessarily see that, although I think a Mike Tomlin coach team is always going to be tough to play against, even with Justin Fields, your backup quarterback, running the show there. But that defense is good. So that might have contributed to some of the mistakes and some of the struggles that Atlanta and Kirk Cousins had in the first week. But, yeah, I mean, like on paper, I get what the Eagles a 5-point favorite. You think that this is a game that you win, but, you can't overlook anybody in this league.
Jeff, you're the man. We appreciate the time as always. It's good to talk to you every single week, but it's even better now that football season is starting. We can actually talk about the game. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again next week.